how to make money from real estate without owning property. By the end of this video, you're going to learn 3 ways to make money from real estate without ever owning a piece of real estate. Did you ever wonder if it's possible to make money from real estate without actually owning any real estate? Well, it is, and today I'm going to show you 3 ways to do that. We're going to talk about wholesaling, short-term rentals, and a little business that I invented called Overages. I promise you're going to be excited, you're going to be surprised, and you're going to have 3 ways that you can make money without having to put up the capital for real estate or even dealing with a lot of the headaches. Now, we're not talking about being a real estate agent. We're talking about more innovative, interesting, and profitable things you can do. Now, one way you can do it is by wholesaling properties. Wholesaling means you get a property under contract at a great deal and you flip that contract, meaning you let someone else take over that contract for a payment to you. The trick with wholesaling is to get great properties at great prices and to have an anxious stable of buyers who are in the business of rehabbing and rentals and who want great deals, and they'll gladly hand over lots of money to you if you find a deal that fits their criteria. If you want to learn more about that, watch my video called Can You Make Money Wholesaling Real Estate, where I go deeper into that. The ways to succeed as a wholesaler are, first of all, to find a group of strong buyers who are in the business of buying properties for rehabbing or for rentals. Ways you can do that is you can go to your local RIA club, that's called the Real Estate Investor Association. Most major areas have them. Those are groups of people that are interested in real estate investing. They get together for meetings, usually live meetings, and you can meet active investors there. You can meet people that are servicers, meaning contractors and title companies and real estate attorneys, all the people that you would need. You want to network with them, find out who's actively buying properties and get networked into them and then talk to them. If you meet Susie, who's busy rehabbing properties, 3 properties a month, talk to her and say, hey, Susie, heard you're really active. Great to meet you. I'm going into some wholesaling. Tell me about what you're looking for. And find out from Susie what areas she's looking for, what types of properties she's looking for, what kind of conditions she's looking for. You want to find that out, and ideally you want to build up a stable of 10 to 12 active buyers that when you have a deal to wholesale, you can send them an email or ideally these days a text message saying, hey, I've got a property, it's 123 Main Street, it's worth $300,000 fixed up, I've got it under contract for $150, probably needs $50,000 to fix up. First one that gets me $20,000 gets this deal. What you want to do, you send it text because that gives urgency, and you also give them an outline of the deal. Make sure that you're giving them accurate information as best you can, because if you burn them, meaning giving nonsense like it's not a $300,000 property, it's a $200,000 property, and it's been burned to the ground, so it's not a $50,000 fix-up, they're going to not even take your texts anymore. They're going to ask you to take you off their list because you're wasting their time. But when you give them deals that are fairly close to their criteria, and they know that this is going out to 12 people, usually then those text messages say, this is going out to 12 people today, first one with $20,000 gets this deal, then they know that they're competing. They're not going to nickel and dime you trying to negotiate. Instead, if the deal fits, they're in. You take payment within 2 to 3 days. You give them the contract so they can take it over, and you're good. If you want to go more in depth in that business, there are plenty of people that teach it. That's not my business of choice because I do another business called Overages, which I'm going to tell you about. But it is a great business, especially for a newcomer, because you don't have to own any property. You just get the property under contract. You assign that contract to someone else, meaning let them take it over in exchange for payment. They worry about getting the cash to settle on the property. They worry about the fix-up. They worry about all that stuff. You don't have to worry about any of it. So it's a good, simple, low-risk way to enter the business, and you can build up large chunks of cash. And essentially, if you get a good stable of buyers, you can sell as many properties as you get. If you could get 10 properties a day, you could sell them. So your keys are good, stable, of reliable buyers, and get knowledgeable about acquiring great deals. And that's going to be with a wholesaling course. Learn from someone who's doing wholesaling, and that can be great. But let's talk about 2 other ways to make great money without owning property. A really interesting one is short-term rentals with a little bit of a twist. The twist is that you go to a person who owns a property, and your proposal to them is, hey, I'd like to either serve as your agent, meaning I'll get this property listed on Airbnb or one of the other short-term rental things, I'll take care of marketing it, meaning taking beautiful pictures, staging it, making sure that everything's taken care of, making sure the people are checked in, that minor repairs are taken care of. If someone locks them out in the middle of the night, you take care of that. You take care of the guest experience, and it's really turnkey for them. They don't have to make any effort. They just give you the house. Well, you can serve as either an agent where you take a percentage of the revenue that comes in, and we're not talking like 5 or 6%. We're talking 20 to 30% of the revenue that comes in exchange for all that work. You can easily, without putting cash out of pocket, build up a stable of dozens of houses. And if you're in an area where short-term rentals are popular, you can make a lot of money with this at really minimal risk. The reason I say that, if it's not rented out, you're not paying a lease payment, you're not paying a mortgage on property you own. Instead, that property is being held, meaning the utilities and all are paid by the owner. And when it's rented out, you make a lot of money. And the areas this tends to work in are areas that are popular for families to vacation in. When my family goes on vacation, because I have 2 small children, my wife comes and often one of our nannies come, I like to have a house. It's way better, way better than a hotel room. We have a washer and dryer. We have a little yard for the kids to play in. It's really much better. So popular vacation areas where families go are amazing. Areas around hospitals where people might need to go for long-term care can be great. Sometimes you have visiting nurses that come in or staff that come in. They might be working there for 3 or 4 months. It's not very comfortable to live in a hotel room for 3 or 4 months. They'd much rather live in a house. Those are great areas for short-term rentals. And the key to this is to keep your risk down. Instead of buying properties and putting them to service, work with people that have properties that they would like the extra income that comes from short-term rentals because they rent at a much higher rate. If you rent a short-term rental, it might rent for, say $300 a day. Whereas if you went to get, the place for the month, it might cost you $2,000 for the month. Well, $300 a day is $6,000 a month versus $2,000 a month on long-term rental. So there's a big spread. There's a lot of extra money, but there's work to do. Checking people in, checking them out, dealing with any day-to-day issues. So that's where you bring value and where you can make a lot of money. A second flavor of that, where you can make a little more money, but you do take a little more risk, is you can do something called a master lease. A master lease is different from a regular lease only in the sense that I rent it from, Joe, the landlord. I rent his place, and maybe I pay $2,000 a month for it. So I commit to that. And I get the right in that lease to list it on short-term rental and to rent it out on short-term rental. It's basically a right to release it to someone else. Now, you might release it on a monthly basis. You might release it even on an annual basis. That generally wouldn't be something you do, but you're getting the right to bring in another tenant under you called a subtenant. The important thing about that is, say you're paying Joe the $2,000 a month that he wants, and then you're turning around and renting it for a total of $6,000 a month. Well, that's pretty good math. That's $4,000 a month profit on that property. And if you're good at doing the hosting part, meaning you keep the house clean, you make it beautiful, give people a good experience, become a 5-star host over time, take good pictures and give people a great experience, you can really make a lot of money. And you don't have a huge amount of risk. Now, you still have the monthly rent obligation, but if all you need is to keep it rented for a third of the month to break even on it, that's a pretty good bet. That does have more risk than the first scenario I described where you're acting as an agent, but it also has more profit potential because Joe doesn't know what you're making. When you're doing a master lease, he has no idea. He knows he's getting $2,000 a month. So that's another flavor of that. I think it's really great. The risk with short-term rentals right now is a lot of cities are essentially banning them. In major cities, Philadelphia, New York, they've gone to the point where they're often not really allowing short-term rentals anymore. And because of a housing shortage in America, I think that's going to get worse because people are blaming that for lack of apartments. So if anything, that's going to get to be a worse problem. When you're doing the agent side, if they ban it, then you don't have any cost to exit. You just say, hey, sorry, they're not doing short-term rentals anymore, so I really can't do anything with this, so you're out. Doesn't cost you anything. If you do scenario B, which is where you're leasing with the right to sublease, well, you still may have some time left in that lease. And unless you write into that lease, if short-term rentals are banned or restricted, I have the option. You'd want to write into that lease, ideally, a clause that says, if short-term rentals are restricted, then I have the right to exit this lease with 30 days notice. That would limit your risk. But that's the thing you have to be careful of, that if they restrict it, and you can't do business, you don't want to be on the hook for a whole bunch of lease payments. So the next and final thing I want to talk to you about is this business that I have called Overages. Really interesting business where you can make incredible money from real estate absolutely without ever owning property. The way this works, when a property is foreclosed, when the property sells for more than the debt, then that extra money over and above the debt is available for the former homeowner to claim under most circumstances. So it's really interesting because essentially what you do is you look at the results of the auction, look to see what money is left over. That's going to be called either overages or excess funds or a couple other terms it goes by. The former homeowners have no idea there even could be any extra money left over. These people are busy rushing to look around for a new place to live, explaining to the kids why they have to move so suddenly. Really very terrible experience losing your house at tax sale. They don't go to the sale, see what happened, think, oh, my house just sold for $300,000, but I only owed $50,000 in taxes. I wonder if there's money for me. They're not doing any of that. And they don't have any money, so they're not going to go consult with attorneys. So your role is to get the list of monies that are held, to then go ahead and reach out to the people and say, hey, there's some money that I think I could get for you. Would you be interested in working for me for a percentage if and when I'm successful? You're not telling them exactly where the money is or anything. You're just telling them you found money. Would you be interested in working with me? And if I get it, I get a percentage. So we do that business. It's a wonderful business because we're helping people who've really lost everything and had this huge, terrible experience in their life. We're helping them get a bunch of money that they otherwise would never have gotten. It would have just forfeited to the state. And all of a sudden you're getting them $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, sometimes even six figures or more, and you're getting a percentage of that. It's wonderful. You're not buying the claims. You're not putting money out. You're essentially just providing the service of getting that money. It's a really cool little business. You do a lot of good, you can make a lot of money, and since the deals don't really cost anything to do, you don't need a lot of capital to do it. It's a really wonderful business. Great business to start on the side. You can start on the side. If you have a job you want to exit, get the overages business going, get some money coming in, get deals in the pipeline, and then you can exit your full-time job already having money in the bank, having a pipeline, and not having a lot of stress. I think it's the ultimate low-risk, high-profit business. It's a highly profitable, feel-good business that I really love, and you might love it too. So if you want to learn more about this, I recorded a video that introduces you to the overages business. It's short, 10 to 15 minutes. So next, watch my intro to the overages business video and you can learn about that. And this might be just your thing if a low-risk business that's highly profitable where you help people appeals to you. This is attorney and overages entrepreneur Bob Diamond. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something interesting. And if you're interested in overages, go check out the video.